Today in this video, we are going to cover product costing question and answers, which we have covered in our previous video. So the first question in this is, what can you use to differentiate two or more cost estimates for the same material? So the correct answers are costing variant and costing version. The costing date, material, plant, costing version, costing variant or version will create a new costing record in the database. In other words, a different cost estimate. Transfer control and valuation variants will only update the current record. In other words, giving an existing cost estimate new values. So, second question is, what do you do to create a primary cost component split? So, assign a cost component structure to the CO version and run an activity price calculation. The primary cost component structure is an alternative to the main structure. The primary or auxiliary structure is optional and can use different components because it will assign primary cost elements from the cost structure. To do this, you must use the activity price calculation to ensure no cost center variance exists. The automatic price calculation must have a component structure assigned in the CO version. So, true or false question, a cost component split can have as many categories as you wish. It's false. Each cost component split can have only 40 fields. If the component is variable, then only one of the 40 fields will be assigned. If the field is fixed and a variable is used, then two of the 40 fields are assigned. What do you get if you mark a standard price cost estimate? So a new status in the cost estimate and a future standard price. Marking a cost estimate updates the status and places the value in the future field of the material master. At this point, you can analyze the price and possible valuation changes. It cannot be used for postings at this point. No documents are created. So the next question, what do you use to map the primary cost component split to the product cost component structure? So transfer structure. You must map the components in the main and primary cost component structures. This mapping is created in the transfer structure. Cost component groups are an optional setting to group similar components together to provide alternative views for reporting. What is required before you create a multi-level material cost estimate without quantity structure? Material master with costing view. The definition of the material cost estimate specifies its structure and whether it requires a material master record. For any cost estimate to be created, the material must contain costing views. A quantity structure means master data with quantity information exists. For instance, a material BOM with material quantity or a routing with time quantities. Which cost estimates must you reuse with transfer control functionality? Cost estimates with same component structure. Transfer control is activated during the creation of a cost estimate. Since data can be transferred across plants and across company codes, The main cost component structure must be used for data consistency. You could use a different cost component for individual plans, but then data couldn't be transferred. Which object do you configure to reuse material cost estimate for the costing process? It's transfer control. Transfer control brings existing lower level costing details into current costing structure. This process does not explode and recalculate lower level items but only brings in existing value. Without transfer control, full structures are exploded and new prices are read. If any master data changes have occurred in the quantity structure, that information is used to build the cost estimate. False. A BOM and routing can be created specifically for costing. Yes, it is true. Costing can use manufacturing master data or create a structure specifically for product costing. The BOM and routing specified in the header record controls which data will be used. If costing doesn't specify data, costing will use the manufacturing data. Which object do you have to assign the cost component structure to? It's costing variant. A costing variant contains all the parameters for creating a cost estimate. In its details, a cost component structure is assigned. It contains different costing variants that can use different cost component structures. In the material master, it contains many costing relevant settings but no logic for selecting quantity data or prices. A valuation variant contains prices relevant for costing. Which parameters can you enter when you create a costing run? So it is A, B, and D. It's like transfer control, costing variant, and costing version. Unlike individual cost estimates, you can only enter a transfer control, a costing variant, and a costing version. Other parameters are determined automatically or from selection criteria. A valuation variant is defined inside the costing variant. Which views can you use to analyze the costing results within the costing run tool? Which views can you use to analyze the costing results? So it is B, D, and E. Costing levels report, material list report, and analysis report. The costing run has three standard views for analyzing the costing run process. There are additional reports available to review the costing run output. The variance and WIP reports are reports used to analyze production orders. You want to use a template for activity and process assignment to your material cost estimate. What do you need to do? You so we need to do use the template allocation function in a material cost estimate. You need to set up the template allocation function. To activate the template, you will link the template to costing sheet in configuration. You can't assign a template, a costing sheet, or operations in the material master. It must come through the costing variant assignments in configuration. The costing sheet and template can be assigned directly in a cost object, allowing updates in master data and not configuration. Materials can be marked and released every week. True or false? False. You can mark a material repeatedly as often as you like. Marking a cost estimate sets a status flag so that reporting and comparisons can occur. Releasing a cost estimate creates valuation postings and happen only once in each fiscal period. What are features of a cost estimate created with unit costing? So allows costing early in product life cycle. BOMs and routings can be used and requires cost element. Unit cost estimates can be created prior to master data creation. Since you are creating a cost estimate, cost elements aren't required. If other master data exists, you can enter this information which is not required. Materials, bombs, and routings are required when creating material costing with quantity structure since they are created automatically. The costing variant is client level data. Yes, the class costing variant is a client level setting that allows any controlling area, any plant, and any material in the client to access the costing variant. However, the valuation variant can be defined at the plant level but only provides a separate strategy for determining prices. If a different set of costing rules is needed, then you must configure additional costing variants. A cost estimate is made up of several costing items. What data is maintained in a costing item? So, item category, cost element, and price. The details contained in all costing items are item category, cost element, and price. Other details will vary based on the specific to the item category type. For example, M requires plant and material data, E requires a cost center and the activity price, and G would require a costing sheet. What are the uses of a cost estimate? So, cost origin, continuous improvement, and productivity. At first glance, a cost estimate is used to set standards, but in some cases can have many other purposes. A few common uses for cost estimates is to identify cost origin, to indicate productivity levels, and to identify continuous improvement. What is a feature of the valuation variant? Strategies are defined by costing item. Strategies in a valuation variant are defined per costing item category. Strategies do not specify a required number of options. Not all valuation settings are required, but in most cases a strategy will be included if material plan. So not all valuation settings are required, but in most cases a strategy will be included if material planning uses the process in their bombs or routings. In the costing variant date control, which date will trigger different prices? Valuation date. The valuation date will activate prices on valid on the date. The costing to and from dates define the relevant data of the costing record. The quantity structure date determines the validity date for the availability of quantity structure master data. The valuation date determines the availability of prices. Material cost estimates with quantity structure try to find a valid BOM and routing. What are some data elements that trigger a BOM or routing? There are three correct answers like valid status, valid lot size, and valid dates. So, material master data for costing must have valid status, a valid lot size, for the costing lot size and valid date. The item must also be flagged as relevant for costing. Valid material items are not determined directly but through a combination of other settings. What is the benefit of the primary cost component structure? The provides an alternative primary cost view. The auxiliary or primary cost component structure provides addition component views based on primary cost center values. This view, along with the main cost component structure, can be used for comparison and can be sent to COPA for additional COGS analysis. So, I think that this question and answers also will be little bit complex, and I try to do some practice video on product costing in my further videos. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching the video.